Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. The final phase of the Churchill-Roosevelt-Uriah Butler Highway Interchange opens. The Predial Lastly Squad has been fully operationalized, and government gets tough on crime. Thank you for joining us. Prime Minister the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar opened the final phase of the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway, the Uriah Butler Highway Interchange. The interchange represents Package C, the final segment of 3 phases done along one of Trinidad and Tobago's busiest crossroads.
The final phase of the interchange project along the Churchill-Roosevelt and Uriah Butler highways were handed over for public use. The project, while still in completion, will eventually eliminate the need for a traffic light at the crossroads, which is expected to facilitate a smoother flow of traffic. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar, in opening the highways, says it signals an upward movement in nationwide development. She added that it's her vision to have free flow of traffic carrying citizens straight into the capital city.
The opening of this segment of the highway interchange, which will allow for the free flow of traffic from south to north, is a most welcome addition to commuters. And indeed, we may recall that within our term in office, we had removed the traffic lights at Aranguez, traffic lights at El Socorro, I believe it is, so that in fact what we have is a freeway, not just a highway, because from these lights here, you could have gone straight up freeway, no lights until C-Lots. Minister will have to find some way that we can deal with the lights at C-Lots and of course by the lighthouse, because that's by the time you get in, the bottleneck is created there. So that is a future project you may want to consider, that we can have it indeed have a true freeway taking us straight into Port of Spain.
Drivers heading south to north will now proceed along the northbound lane of the Uriah Butler Highway and keep right after the Port of Spain exit, while drivers heading south to east will now have to proceed along the northbound lane of the Uriah Butler Highway and keep left after the Port of Spain exit, then exit left onto the new south to east Clover and proceed onto the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway eastbound. Coming from the east and proceeding north towards Mount Hope, drivers will continue west along the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway and keep left upon passing Val Park Shopping Plaza. Exit the highway onto the new frontage road and keep right. Upon passing the entrance to Grand Bazaar, move to the left lane and proceed straight under the new Uriah Butler Highway overpass to access the east to north Clover and onto the Uriah Butler Highway northbound. Heading south from the east, persons will now proceed west along the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway and keep left upon passing Val Park Shopping Plaza. Exit the highway onto a new frontage road and keep right. Upon passing the entrance to Grand Bazaar, move to the left lane and exit onto the existing Uriah Butler Highway southbound. The traffic lights across the Uriah Butler Highway southbound will be in effect. For project overseers Vincy Grand, the interchange comes 4 months ahead of schedule.
For us, it's very much the heart and the core of what has to be delivered in Trinidad and Tobago, because we can see the people and ourselves suffer every day in traffic. So we are working for the past 7 years to try to alleviate and relieve the people of Trinidad and Tobago in order for them to get quicker home and quicker to work.
The project saw the partnering of Vincy with local state agency NIDCO, National Infrastructure Development Company. President of NIDCO, Dr. Carson Charles, says the development of this segment remained within the said budget.
The budget for this project, approximately $721 million, of which $550 million spent so far. And we have just a little bit of a distance to go again before completing the other sections of this particular Package C project. So when we are finally finished with this phase and the other ones later on this year, we expect to be well within the budget approved for this project.
Works and Infrastructure Minister Dr. Suraj Ratan Rambachan says the construction of the highway allowed for local contractors to gain expertise in such enormous projects. He also commended the workers for their professionalism in reducing any inconveniences to the public during the construction phase.
I don't know what has been your experience, but I have driven this highway from Chaguanas to Port of Spain for the last 23 years. Every day for 23 years, except I'm out of the country, I've used this highway. And for me, it was always a nightmare when I got up in the morning to get to Port of Spain. But I have been able to observe the building of this particular highway, the Ranguez overpass and what have you. And many of us never experienced traffic delays as a result of the building. This is one of the things we must admit. In other words, we seem to just have proceeded with our lives as normal while the highway is being constructed. And therefore it says something about the consultants and the design engineers and the manner in which they went about laying out their plans for construction so as to create minimum disruption in the lives of people and no further delays to traffic.
Kimberam Kalawan, News 4.
In other news, farmers and citizens alike can now rest comfortably as the Predial Larceny Squad has been fully operationalized.
Predial larceny, which is defined as the theft of agricultural produce or livestock from a farm or estate, is one of the most difficult crimes various governments struggle to get under control. However, the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago made a significant move when it launched the Predial Larceny Squad under the Ministry of Food Production in August. This marked the start of a 3-month induction training program for the new members, a collaboration between the Food Production Ministry, responsible for the administration of the squad, and the National Security Ministry, responsible for training, recruiting, and dealing with matters of performance and discipline. On Friday, a total of 92 Special Reserve Police officers, 12 corporals, and 80 constables graduated from the program, ready to put their newly acquired skills to work.
Crime has many spectra. One of them is predial larceny, which, if not addressed, will hamper the use of new age technology in agriculture and farming. The economic activity attributed to predial larceny will affect the growth of the agricultural sector. It will cause an imbalance in the monetary returns to all the stakeholders involved, with the proceeds falling into the hands of the lawless. This cannot continue.
Data shows that for Trinidad and Tobago, losses of US $11.3 million have been recorded over a 6-month period, therefore reflecting the magnitude of such a crime.
For too long, the agriculture sector has been ignored, and especially in the area of predial larceny. What started off as petty theft to satisfy household food or schoolboy pastime or passing by a neighbor tree and stealing a mango or zabuka has escalated now into the theft of entire fields, as indicated by Mr. Bagalu and Mr. Singh. Truckloads of livestock and acts of violence are being perpetrated now on farmers who very quietly had to endure this. Farmers tell you that when they go to the police station, their complaints are relegated last because the officers, rightly or wrongly, felt that crimes against the person may be more important against crimes against the produce. So, as a result of that, the attention was not there.
The minister said that the recently established predial larceny police stations in the northern, central, eastern, and southern divisions would be manned 24/7, and he expects additional stations to be opened in the near future.
Restore the sense of security for the farmers to once again go back and cultivate their lands, to restore trust and faith in our policing system as it specifically relates to predial larceny, so that farmers are comforted to report their issues, and overall to restore the hope of the nation to have a consistent and affordable supply of local produce and a thriving agricultural sector. These burdens are heavy burdens on this band of 100 or so officers before us, but I am sure with the training that you have received, the enthusiasm in which you received it, and from the video I see there, the fun in which you had in the process of receiving it, you will be able to live up to the challenge.
He also gave the officers a social mandate that is expected to assist in the efforts to revitalize the agricultural sector. Special awards were distributed to those officers who showed an added level of competence and skill, shining among their peers. Members of the public are being advised to assist in lessening the opportunities for criminals to profit from predial larceny by purchasing goods from reputable persons and reporting any suspicious activity. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
When we come back, a consultation on draft national qualifications and credit framework. Stay with us. Welcome back. Criminals will now think twice about becoming a repeat offender, as government will put measures in place to ensure that bail is not granted a second time for the same offense.
The Honorable Attorney General, Anand Ramlogan, believes that to get a grip on the crime situation, tough measures are necessary. He said the government intends to amend the first schedule of the Bail Act and to substitute a new list of offences for which a person who is charged for any such offence and who has a previous conviction for any such offence during the last 10 years will not be entitled to be granted bail. However, he says where the matter has not started after 120 days, the person should be entitled to apply to a judge to be granted bail.
The proposal is to increase this category and to have one strike and you're out for a range of offences that really target the violent crime and the gun-related crime in the country. The 3 strikes and the 2 strikes rule has not proven to be as effective as one would have liked. By the time the police get around to securing the first conviction and then arresting a second time to get a second conviction so that the denial of bail can be triggered, it is oftentimes too late for many an innocent citizen who would have lost their life or been maimed at the hands of the bandit. So we propose a one strike and you're out if within the last 10 years you have been convicted, arrested, charged, prosecuted, and convicted of a gun-related or violent crime, and if within the 10 years henceforth you are again charged, that you should be denied bail, and the anti-gang formula of 120 days be applied. We think that this is necessary because if we allow persons who have a demonstrated propensity to commit certain types of crime get bail and go back out, then the result has been an increase in crime.
This amendment would require a special majority or 3/5 vote under Section 13 of the Constitution in light of the fact that it would contravene existing constitutional provisions and interfere with fundamental human rights under Section 4 and 5 of the Constitution, such as the right to reasonable bail. It is also proposed that this amendment should remain in force for 3 years. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
A consultation on the draft National Qualifications and Credit Framework, NQCF, was led by the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago to solicit the views and perspective on all areas of the NQCF.
The NQCF is a highly technical document. The framework aims to solve some of the basic issues and problems that face students, educators, employers, professional bodies, as well as users and beneficiaries of the education and training system.
In its simplest form, the NQCF establishes national standards for knowledge, skills and competencies at various levels of the education and training system of Trinidad and Tobago.
The framework will standardize the measurement of credits by quantifying units of credits. As a credit-based system, the NQCF will facilitate the smooth transition of students in the education and training system. The NQCF will also assist adults and lifelong learners by identifying clear pathways for the recognition of prior learning.
Qualifications have also been linked to official statements that an individual has been accepted to practice in a certain area, be that person a doctor, a lawyer, a plumber.
Minister of Tertiary Education, Faisal Karim, says NQCF becomes national property.
And this national property really describes how one progresses, a clear statement of what the learner must know, must be able to do, whether in the classroom, whether on the job, or whether informal, as we say, or informally, as we engage in discovery and sometimes experiential learning.
As stakeholders in the education sector, the National Qualification and Certified Framework is intended to bring about many positive benefits in terms of the quality processes, experience and outputs of the education and training system of Trinidad and Tobago. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
News 4 continues after the break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Minister of the People and Social Development, Dr. the Honorable Glenn Ramadasing, defended the government's food card program against allegations that persons were exploiting the system. This came following the launch of the Direct Effect campaign, which came to the people of Palmist.
Addressing residents of Palmist at the Palmist Recreation Ground, Minister Glenn Ramadasing sought to defend the government's food card program, which has received some criticism.
And they tell us, oh, you're giving out food card. That, the food card, TT card, is a ticket to a better way of life. Because the people who have lots of food in their home and they're stocking up with ham, lamb and jam, I'm happy for them. But the mother of a children with 6 who has a teenage daughter with 3, a little food card could be the difference between life and death for those children. And therefore, we make no apologies for taking care of food security for the poor, the underprivileged, and the challenged in the society.
He said the monitoring had been so vigilant that thousands of persons have been taken off from the program.
I was determined that the food card should go to those who need it the most. I'm also equally determined that those who do not deserve it should not have it. If you want to have your car paint up with special paint and neon lights and big rims and big music, those swipe no food card, we'll take it away from you. And we took away 7,000 food cards from people who didn't deserve it and gave 12,000 to those who need it the most.
The minister said he welcomed any reports of abuse and will act on them. Dr. Glenn Ramadasing says his ministry is trying to change the psyche of the people in Trinidad and Tobago.
We don't want you to call us 12 o'clock in the night and tell us you just rush your grandmother to the doctor at the hospital and you can't get bed. We want you to tell us that your grandmother is doing very well because she started to walk around the ground. And this ground have lights on it. That is representation.
The minister says his visit to the residents of Palmist were a very successful one, and promises that his ministry is doing all in its power to address the concerns of the residents in a timely and effective manner. The Ministry of the People and Social Development's Direct Impact project is geared toward taking services to the people. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
When we come back, an exhibition of military colors. Stay with us. The Ministry of National Diversity and Social Integration, its agency, the National Museum, and the Ministry of National Security joined with the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment to mount an exhibition of military colors at a ceremony at the courtyard of the National Museum. The exhibition is said to be part of its thrust to bring the regiment closer to the people.
The move to bring Trinidad and Tobago's military closer to citizens has commenced through the exhibition of military colours. The military colours are really flags used to mark territory and claim ownership. In celebrating this body that served to protect our nation's borders and maintain peace, the National Security Ministry has collaborated with the Ministry of National Diversity to sensitize the public on military culture and the history of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as to educate the public about these traditions. For many years, these colours hung from the ceiling at the Holy Trinity Cathedral in Port of Spain. On August 11, 2013, the TTRF retired the colours of the 1st Infantry Battalion in a sacred ceremony. These colours are now being donated to the National Museum. Lieutenant Colonel Ronald Jeffrey, commanding officer at the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment, explained the significance of the occasion.
On this occasion, we felt that these colors could be of greater benefit to the regiment and the nation by being laid up in a place that could be seen by our citizenry. The place that came immediately to mind was a National Museum. The museum was engaged and the items received with great enthusiasm, to which we thank you, Mr. Minister, and your people. The regiment has done a thrust to become more interactive with the public, and I'm certain that this relationship would redound to the benefit of all concerned. As a result, I want to state that this would not be a single event, but rather the beginning of a partnership that could see the two entities cooperating to bring to the fore the history and character of Trinidad and Tobago Regiment, your army.
These colors are revered symbols of the dedication and service of the soldiers who vow to guard and defend this nation against all aggressors. The lieutenant explained the history behind these colors here in Trinidad and Tobago.
The colors are the single most enduring symbol of a regiment. They are sacred and held in the highest esteem by all members of the military. Before colors are put into service, they are consecrated or blessed, symbolizing that they serve both God and country. The history of colors dates back hundreds of years. Colors were assigned to armies at the beginning of the 17th century, when armies began to adopt the regimental system. The regimental system, simply put, means that large groups of military persons were put into smaller, more manageable group units called regiments. It was logical then for the red regiments, for example, to carry a red flag, or the green regiment to carry a green flag for easy identification in battle. Hence, military flags became known as colors.
For National Diversity Minister Roger Samuel, the laying of these colors at the National Museum will serve as a place where the public can come and visit and feel proud of a democratic nation.
These regiment colors to be housed here at this Royal Victorian Institute are a reminder of those 32 years. They represent the spirit of a democratic and free nation. They represent each and every citizen of this beautiful Twin Island Republic of ours. I am very privileged to be here. On one of my travels to various countries, one of the things I often do, and I make it my duty every time I enter into a new land or a new state, is that I go to those places where they remember those who have fallen. I visit the cenotaphs, and I take pride as I stand and remember those who have fallen for our security and who have fallen for our safety and who have made us what we are today.
The minister notes leaving behind a place where our legacy is remembered by generations to come is a priority of his ministry.
From before independence, of the days of the Camberley riots and those heroes of those days, from the struggles of the sugarcane workers and the men who struggled and the raw butlers and they who came forward so that our young people can know the heroes of this land. To take them down to Nelson Island and let them have a little time to sit in the cells of the men who struggled, and even during the 1970s of those who struggled to bring us where we are today. We must establish a social history museum so that it will not be lost and we could save the generations to come. So that our young people can feel a sense of belonging. That we can establish in them a sense of hope. That they could know that when I say I belong to this land, Trinidad and Tobago, they can say it with pride.
Kimberly Calawan, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Thank you for joining us.